Let there be jihad. Let the swords run with the blood of the infidels. We will all eat land in paradise.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Kill James Bond of 2023. I am Alice Caldwell-Kelly. I'm joined, as always, by my friends Abigail Thorne and Devon.
Hey!
How you doing?
And we have tricked a legitimate subject matter expert into slumming it with three podcast idiots. We got Dr. Arthur Asseraf, Associate Professor in the History of France and the Francophone World at the University of Cambridge, on the podcast. How's it going, Arthur?
Hi! I'm illegitimate.
Thank you so much for coming on. We got you on to talk about a terrible movie because you did a Twitter thread about it, and I was like, yeah, this seems like a cruel thing to make you recapitulate. So.
You have made yourself known to the podcast, and we've immediately...
Yes, yeah, exactly.
You guys must have watched something else, because I thought it whipped ass.
We're going to get the fight on this episode.
Yeah, we're going to... I'm excited to debut with no warning a new segment entitled Which Host of Kill James Bond is Racist, and I'm turning the big spotlight in your direction.
I win! No, I mean, the podcast episode, I know that it's racist. The podcast episode just requires conflict, so...
That's
Good
true.
of you.
That is true.
Very good of you.
But this movie is The Wind and the Lion, and you may have heard from the opening drop that we've gone back for more old Sean Connery. We're just very susceptible to an old Connery. And the problem with this is that I've been walking around my house just saying things in Sean Connery voice for the last few hours.
This happens to us every time we do one of these things. We've seen this man play
Russians?
a Lithuanian man. We've seen him play an Englishman. Yeah, Lithuanian. How dare you?
Sorry.
First and foremost. I believe they were the same country at the time, don't worry. But we've also now seen him play a, quote, well-educated sheik. And you better believe he has not made any attempt.
Listen, there is one very important attempt, which is that he does manage to make Allah rhyme with loch. So it's like Allah.
I have the drop. Oh God, where is it? Yes.
Allah is very understanding.
There you go.
It's very forgiving. Not of this pronunciation, but of a lot of other things. So I do want to stress, by the way, this movie is racist from the first shot because it opens with the faux Arabic calligraphy font, which makes the credits really hard to read.
Yep.
It looks like Sean Connery is spelled with a Q, and it just it sets the tone, right? And we begin.
That seems Sean Connery Minami. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
As in many of these episodes, my first note is, oh no.
I was excited to find out that the font had been used before Aladdin. Like 20 years before, and we already get the Aladdin font.
Yeah.
Fucking Agra.
This is like a 1975. This movie came out. Like, it's truly vintage dated, and also, another thing I should say by way of sort of setting up for this is that this was written and directed by a guy called John Milius. He also did the script for Hunt for Red October. I didn't bring that up at the time.
Another classic
John
of
Milius,
the Sean Connery accent game.
Yes, yeah. But I think John Milius is kind of underappreciated. I think he's up there with Tom Clancy as one of the sort of like weird fascist Americans who sort of like made pop culture what it became. Because this is the guy who did Dirty Harry. He did Red Dawn. He did Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, we're gonna have to watch that. We're gonna have to watch that at some point.
Yes.
Fuck, we will have to.
He did the script for Apocalypse Now sort of largely against his will, and then complained to everyone who would listen about how it was liberalized. Fully like 6/5 an esoteric sort of Nazi. Also, crucially, a giant weeb. He branded himself for a long time as The American Samurai and the Zen Anarchist.
Incredible. Did he also write Rising Sun?
I'm actually, now that I've said that, I'm not sure. I don't think so. But knowing that he is this kind of like esoteric racist, you just know going in, you're going to get some like warrior culture stuff.
Oh yeah.
The guy who like...
Yeah, this guy...
You don't have
this
to
guy,
wait.
He does not distinguish between Arabic peoples and like the Klingons.
No.
This is the same to him.
Yeah, and so we begin with a bunch of Klingons riding their horses down the sands and into Tangier. And the way this is shot, it's intercut with European colonists having a nice sort of like cup of Bordeaux in their fancy mansion. And
so it takes the bold step to like introduce our protagonist by having her be a snob about wine, and I was just like, oh, we're supposed to like this woman for this? She's like, oh, at lunchtime it absolutely must be Bordeaux, and I'm like, yes, I agree, but also like, no.
It's like the vibe you're getting from this is a sort of a gilded cage. It's a very like corseted, imprisoning kind of like Europeanness. And meanwhile, outside, the Klingons who are like doing real masculinity.
Warbirds are uncloaking.
Yeah, and may I also say, presented in stunning definition. No hide to speak of.
Lots of like very fast shots of like sort of like foaming at the mouth horses and stuff.
Oh my god, there's so much horseography.
Yes.
Like there's so many like horse movements.
Yeah, I mean that's actually one of the things.
Dancing.
So one of the things I was tentatively going to submit in the film's favor is that the horse action is very well filmed.
The horse acting is genuinely extremely good.
Like the way they choreograph the horse fighting and like film it is all very good, and it's all very action packed.
I will give it that.
I'm pretty sure some horses probably died.
Oh,
because there's some points where I was like, how do you film like this? They do not make them like this anymore, and it's because they realize you can't just blow up a horse and film it.
Yeah, 100%. There's this number of shots where a horse just like eats shit very, very hard, and I'm like, I don't think the horse was trained to do that. I think there was a rope involved in that.
I don't think CGI'd it.
There's a few things where you can see the stuntman sort of like visibly get trampled by the horse. Very Cecil B. DeMille in that way. But so our boys, our Klingons, trample a couple of French soldiers. Literally, a horse tramples the French flag because French people are pussies, right? In the universe of this film. And they sort of like rampage towards the nice English colonialism, which puts up a bit more of a fight, but still not quite enough. The sort of like white-suited gentleman who is like having Bordeaux with this lady shoots a couple of them as they rampage in with a pistol.
The boys run in, and then this guy pulls out the lunchtime gun. That he just has that on him at lunch. He just pulls out a gun and like shoots some dudes.
It's the Bordeaux
to have a lunchtime gun.
Yeah. The special lunchtime gun.
Lunch, one must have a small.
But like
it's like wine pairings, right?
Wine
you
goes
have a
well
Bordeaux
with
and you have a Webley Bulldog with the Bordeaux because that's the pairing.
This is the kind of shit that I imagine my grandpa did. Just walked around in someone else's country with a white suit and a gun. Some Bordeaux.
This guy's my favorite character because he does exactly what he shoots several guys one at a time, and then he runs out of bullets and he goes, "Damn!" and then gets hit with a sword. That's it. His last words are just like, ah. Like, what
See, I knew... Killed. So there's a little boy in the mix here, William, who's like seeing all this happen.
Yeah, a boy who I sort of perhaps unkindly described as having the most English-shaped head I've ever seen. But there's a lot of like filming of like the English people in profile in this.
Yes.
And let me tell you, as a nation, we have some weird-shaped craniums. Not to resurrect phrenology, but
I knew that Sean Connery was going to be in this film, and I was like, oh, this is child Sean Connery. We're going to do a kind of like even more racist Dances with Wolves. Like he's going to be raised by the lads, and then he'll become their chief. I was like, that's how it's gonna work. But no.
Oh,
no.
you expected there to be a reason he was white? No. It's just you
That's my
thought this
mistake.
man would start off Scottish to begin with. No. This is William, and I fucking love William throughout this entire movie because he gets so
great.
into it.
Yeah, William is this woman Eden's son. She's got a son and a daughter, and both she, the son, and the daughter get kidnapped in the sort of like Western way of a guy picks you up and puts you on a horse, and then you're just done.
Horses, they ride through the house. It's good horse action.
They ride the horses into the house. They destroy the house sort of on general principle. They get really into it too, which I approve of. There's a guy
with no exposition.
No.
So we've never met these people. We don't know why they're doing this. They show up in a house and they blow everything up.
They kill Chef Boyardee.
They don't even get off the horses at any point in it. They're just hitting paintings with their swords on the horse in the living room.
They spill the Bordeaux.
I have a favorite guy here, by the way. My favorite guy is the guy who we see just beating the shit out of a sort of a table centerpiece with a sword, like forged in fire.
Yeah.
That's my guy. I love that guy so much. Because for no reason, what possible offense is this centerpiece offering him? We don't know. We don't care. Do you use a sword like that? No, you don't. Doesn't matter.
Are you telling me you wouldn't?
No, you let me loose in sort of a big fancy colonial house with a sword and you just tell me go nuts. I'm going for the centerpiece. I'm doing it.
Every time you come over, I have to get a new centerpiece. It's terrible. But they are taken to see the boss. They are taken to see Lieutenant Worf, man in charge.
None other than Sean Connery, holding a Tasby the least naturally I've ever seen anyone do it. And he tries to like flex on this woman by stealing one of her horses and like breaking the horse in front of her, and the horse just throws him. She laughs, his men laugh, and he gets up and slaps her and hits her with his opening line.
I'm the Raisuli. Do not laugh at me again.
Okay.
He beats her to death with a shoe. Like in Dr. No.
It's like, yeah, I won't. I think at this point we've now cut to America.
Yes, we see Roosevelt.
A guy's thumb is on a globe. Teddy Roosevelt. He was introduced in a sort of like fucking idle animation civilization leader portrait mode.
And buddy, he doesn't leave that mode for the movie.
No, I love this performance. I've got to say, this actor,
he's
well done.
Chewing scenery.
Yeah.
Who is it who's playing Roosevelt in this?
I have no idea, but
Brian Keith.
He's really good.
Brian Keith.
Doing a great job.
He's also the only person who's having fun either in or watching this movie, aside from Abby.
It's also the most accurate historical bit of the film.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, like...
Because
the thing...
Roosevelt did more or less react like this.
Yeah, and he was an absolute psycho.
I guess this is the point where we should know, unless you did while I was letting the cat out and I didn't hear it, that this is based on a real event.
Yeah, okay, so...
I'm based on, in extremely inverted commas here.
Yeah, so what if, instead of a sexy lady played by Candice Bergen, this was a 64-year-old, heavily bearded, overweight Greek-American fail son called Jon Perdicaris. Because, yeah, so this is a facet of colonialism, right? Is that Morocco is in this sort of like, and I'm going to get this very wrong, so do please correct me, like transitional state between colonialisms, where it was like caught between like French and Spanish spheres of influence. And so instead of like a formalized colonial rule, you had a sort of like, oh, well, nobody really cares that much about Tangier, so it all runs through this one dipshit fail son who, like, his dad got rich in, like, the coal industry, and he dropped out of Harvard, and he was going to be a painter, but the paintings weren't very good. And he was going to be a writer, but the writing wasn't very good. So he just went to Tangier, built a mansion. Yeah, and just sort of like hung out being the elder statesman of a community of like European dipshits we deposited on Tangier. And
they made him a sexy lady for the movie.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Predictably, someone had the idea we should kidnap this guy. Hard to be mad at that, I think.
Yeah, he was kidnapped, and this did lead to like a whole crisis with Roosevelt and the Germans and the French were involved. So that bit of the movie is correct. You can also visit Perdicaris' house in Tangier if you want to, but it doesn't look anything like the house in the film.
I've seen a picture of it. It's ridiculous. It's like a McMansion. He put turrets on this thing.
Like a Dave Courtney ass?
Pretty much, yeah.
I think we should do more films that are about historical figures and we make them sexy ladies. Like, I would love to see a Churchill biopic where it's got like fat naturals. It's just played by a 10 out of 10. I think it would just be fun.
Stacked JFK.
Wilma Churchill, yeah.
Yeah, it's just called Stacked JFK as well. It's not even trying. My favorite aspect of this is that, like, it wasn't just this guy who got kidnapped. It was him and his stepson, who was a British kid. Not even a kid at that point. He was like in his middle age, but he was called Cromwell Varley, which is what every single British person was called in 1904. Yeah. Was some shit like Cromwell Varley.
But so
JFK,
Teddy Roosevelt
geez, fantastic knockers.
getting briefed by his Secretary of State, John Hay, played by John Huston, guy I love to see. Most recently, we saw in Winter Kills.
Yes, we did.
And he explains to him that, well, first of all, he briefs him on what has happened and who has kidnapped Eden Perdicaris, and is absolutely wrong about, I would say 90% of what he says here is wrong.
Roulé el Razuli.
He describes as Sheriff of the Riffian Berbers and the last of the Barbary pirates.
Burner!
Yeah,
error noise.
Extremely loud, incorrect buzzer. It's like, what, 50, 60 years too late to even be talking about the last of the last of the Barbary pirates, right? Like...
So first of all, his name is not Moulet. Moulet means my lord. I just wanted to say
I wondered that. I was I genuinely thought, because there's a bit later on where he says that's his first name. And I'm like, that sounds a lot like Maula, like Maulani.
Yeah, Moulet.
That sounds like a title to me.
Exactly.
Fucking hell.
That rules.
His name is Ahmed.
We didn't even try. When we were making this one.
Did not even look it up.
Just didn't even Google it. His name's not even right.
He's Sheriff of the Riffian Berbers. Just like...
No. So sheriff is like a kind of noble thing, but it's not a job. It's like you are a Sharif or not, you are descended from the Prophet or not. And the people that are following him are not Berbers. Like, they might have been Berbers a while ago, but they speak Arabic, so they live in the Rif, but they're not Berbers. So most of that is incorrect, but that is how he was described at the time in the American press. And they were obsessed with the Barbary pirates thing because America had a long history of sending military interventions against Barbary pirates. So the Marines...
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli.
Exactly. So that's the first overseas intervention of the American army, is when they go to Tripoli in Libya. So it fits with some nice nationalist myths.
So anyway, this guy tells Roosevelt, yo, there's this dude, Sean Connery. He's the last of the Pirates of the Caribbean. He's a member of the Klingon High Council.
And Roosevelt sort of is like, this guy sounds cool.
He does.
I want to be friends with him.
Roosevelt's like, based, cool, sick, but you can't have him kidnapping American stacked 10 out of 10 women. So I'm going to send a fleet. We'll use it as a propaganda tool.
And he sort of coins this slogan in his head at this moment, which is
America wants Perdicaris alive or Razuli dead.
And this goes over, as we later see. This is like a huge hit with Americans. The electorate love it. Meanwhile, back in the Rift, back in Morocco,
back on the Klingon homeworld.
Yeah, Eden is like, and her children are like, sort of dumped on the ground to be menaced by non-speaking but horny men.
Yes. They want to watch her undress. It's very, it's quite disturbing. She's also racist to them quite explicitly.
Sure.
It's not good.
And then we look across the way where Rasuli he's just reading a book.
Yeah, they are contrasted against him, the white man reading a book.
who speaks English. We don't know why, but they have no problem communicating with him.
Speaks Scottish, maybe. Yeah, but it's such a weird flex on your captives to be like, I benching, I'm lifting 350 pounds, and that's with the right arm alone. What about the left? Writing poems. And it's like,
yeah, it's perfect. It's fantastic, and he says, and fucking William is in like full on, "Oi, Mister, you me dad" mode, like wandering around this.
Yeah,
camp.
He just wanders up to him and he's like, "Father figure, are you my father figure now?
Are you going to be my gruff father figure? Please, God, I need a gruff father figure."
So I don't think Connery even interacts with this child very much throughout the film.
No, he just ignores him.
Yes.
No,
fuck off.
He proves that he is sort of like educated and civilized because he like shoes his what's the word I'm looking for? Starts with an L, means sexually perverse, licentious, maybe lecherous men.
Oh yeah,
very nice.
Away from her, and sort of like tells her that like I'm cool actually. Not only am I cool, but I am. He makes a succession of claims. The true defender of the faithful, which who hasn't called themselves that? The blood of the prophet runs in me. And I am a servant of his will, which is theologically incoherent, script writingly also incoherent.
I don't have much kind of first-hand knowledge of Islam, but you're not supposed to do that, are you?
He's not going around puppeteering Sean Connery, no.
Yeah.
So
I suppose not.
He also has the line, "Your shell is strong, like a turtle's." Which
don't tell me about that line.
No.
Like listen,
Your shell is strong like a turtle's.
Your shell is strong.
He's like kind of trying to do
That's
a
the
little
Barbary
bit of an
Pirates.
accent, but he's
Your
just kind of
shell is
doing his own
Apparently,
accent more.
I found one piece of trivia about this, which is that they got a dialogue coach in to try and teach him to do an accent, and he spent 3 days on it, gave up, and went back to
Your shell is strong like a turtle's.
God, imagine how fucking hard that job must have been to try to be an accent coach for Sean Connery.
That's
A man
so
who
like
has never once not sounded exactly like that.
it's incredible the way like the films and stuff used to be made where you, as an actor, you could just get away with doing that. Like that is, unbelievable.
Like,
I think about
coach.
the
He's
time
like, no.
and the money that gets put into dialogue coaching now on set. Like most sets will have a dialogue coach there, and they work hard too. And like to just be like, "Nah, fuck it, we're not going to bother." Wow. Movies,
fine.
man.
Also, the vibe here is like she is sort of like alternately impressed and terrified by his rough ways. He keeps calling her woman every time he talks to her, which is weirdly the like most Roger Moore cadence I've heard out of Sean Connery.
Well, it does mean we have at least two ex-Bond actors saying things about Allah. It's always nice.
That's
Allah,
true.
sorry.
But yeah, because we are about to meet a fucking guy.
Yes. Our boy, our special
Our
boy, favorite
friend
actor
of the
podcast, Vladek Shebal.
It's
who is playing
fucking Kronstein.
That's right.
I stood
he is
up.
playing the Basha of Tangier, the ruler, the governor of Tangier. And this role, I mean, how would
He's
we
given
describe
nothing
this
to
as a
do with it,
stereotype?
basically.
I would describe it as dude's rock.
Sure. Yes.
I loved it. I was living.
It's
No, it's good, eh?
it's sort of like
It's like the
hedonism bots.
faggiest fag Arab
Yes.
Yeah.
Jafar kind of Lawrence of Arabia. It's great.
It's not even the faggiest Vladek Shebal's ever looked, but they go hard on it. Like they put some real effort. That would be
true.
in the Apple, by the way, which we will not do.
The sort of the if I had to give it to you in like a sentence, decadent effete.
Yeah.
Middle Eastern like potentate or something.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's specifically like it's kind of like racial, like he's not very masculine, kind of a deal.
Yeah, he's like surrounded by beautiful
Ready to be
boys.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, he's literally, he's on a sort of a strict rotation, and this is my favorite part. In this scene, he goes from evil fruit bowl number 1, minces to evil fruit bowl number 2, eats one date out of evil fruit bowl number 2, and then goes to smoke the evil hookah. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And
this is what I'm doing. This is my rotation every day.
Yeah, complete with the fanboys.
The American diplomat, the American consul in Tangier is there to try and like threaten him into making Rasuli give up Eden, either by paying him off or whatever. And he just sort of like in this very louche way.
Because the Americans are just like, we need action, we've got to sort this out, we got American citizens with kidnapped, and he's just like, nah. You're going to have to ask the Sultan.
He's genuinely like, I've been threatened by real countries, which is just an incredible read. But so he's like, okay, go and speak to the Sultan. Bring something he likes. He sends him on a fetch quest. He's like, bring him 2 lions.
Yeah. Well, he says you got to bring the Sultan a gift.
Bicycles as well, and he says bicycles in a fucking way too.
Yeah,
goes bicycles or something.
Bicycles.
But he says you got to bring the Sultan a gift, otherwise he's not going to talk to you. And they go, okay, like what kind of gift would he like? And he just shrugs and goes, lions.
It's just like the least effort possible.
Got any
just
lions?
Like not taking the mouthpiece of the hookah out. Lions. Back in the
Bronstein
desert,
is like, no, I can't do shit about this. Go and speak to the larger, but also more flamboyant and effete guy.
Go and speak to me, brackets more so. Back in the desert, we go to an oasis where we see that Raisuli rules through like fear, right? He beheads a couple of dudes.
They stole his water.
Pause here?
Yeah.
Please.
In northern Morocco, there are no deserts. So I just want to say that
I did wonder.
There's no sand. Like, they just wanted to reuse a bunch of sets from like Lawrence of Arabia or something. But like, it's like, I don't know, you set something in Florida and you like take people through the Death Valley or something.
John Milius said that he wanted to do like a David Lane thing. So yeah, Lawrence of Arabia. And what's really funny is that the whole part of why the Rif is like so like impregnable at this time is this mountains. Like one of the like American journalists in Tangier says it reminds him of Colorado. It's very
should have filmed it in fucking Colorado. Never mind.
Let me present this to you though. It takes place in North Africa, and that's where the Sahara is. So in many ways, ipso facto, done.
Extremely
easy.
loud.
We're fine.
I think you're actually overthinking this. It's much more simple. They're Arabs, so there has to be sound.
That's fucking what it is. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Genius. Last of the Barbary pirates.
But we do see one other thing that I want to draw out, which is that just in case we were unclear from him saying things like Allah is very forgiving all the time, we learn that Sean Connery's character is Muslim, and we learn this because we see him and his boys sort of praying. They got the spirit right. There's sujood involved, right? It's fine. They have maybe gotten some things wrong. That's fine, right? Except that as they get up, they are interrupted by possibly my favorite drop from this, even though it's only funny to me, the saddest takbir in the world.
Allah.
me rolling out of bed at 4 a.m.
At least they actually said it and just make a noise like in James Bond. Just like, nah.
It's just like whatever.
And she calls him a barbarian for like beheading guys, and he goes, "You don't understand me. I'm the man of honor." And
because I only beheaded 2 of them.
More guys. Yeah. And you know, don't be so quick to judge our ways.
And that night, Connery makes her sleep next to him and kind of menaces her with a sword, which I didn't like.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like jokingly.
Yeah, it's like, what if I killed you right now? Just kidding.
Like, yeah, I have this cool sword. I should also say, throughout these sequences, we're getting a succession of like pronunciations, right? Sean Connery, what's your character's religion?
Islam.
what do you do when you miss prayers? Oh, I say another one because
Allah is very understanding.
and it's just like relentless. Like every couple of minutes, one of these comes along and like slaps me over the back of the head. I'm just okay.
Meanwhile, these kids are like 10 seconds off converting.
Yeah,
like,
they're loving it.
Yeah,
like this daughter character would not be given her British citizenship back by Priti Patel. I'll tell you that for fucking free.
Oh yeah, for real. She would be fucking shit. Citizenship revoked.
Yeah.
Drones engaged.
William has started wearing. I believe the way you would describe this at the time is adopting Arab garb. Right?
He's gone native.
Yeah.
He's fully Lawrence pilled. He's having a great time.
He fucking is. He's also like
a guy
gay
gives
as
him a
fuck.
janbia and he's like, also true. Yeah.
There's a brief moment where he like talks to his mother regarding Sean Connery. I'm going to be calling Sean Connery throughout this, by the way.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he does have a certain way about him, doesn't he? And you're like, what? You're right.
I did a bit of research, and the American press at the time did call him this bandit of gorgeous costumes. So they were living for the clothes.
I am also described in the same terms.
Look, he's a pirate, he's a bandit, but we cannot deny that man is serving cunt.
Yeah.
Gorgeous gown.
We love to do a bit of like Orientalism, right? The dark eyes and the sort of the mascara and things of this nature, and be like, it's like a forbidden, interesting desire. So also one other thing is when he menaces her with the sword, he like takes off his turban for the first time, and I wrote down alarmingly bald Connery.
Really funny.
Oh yeah.
Really fucking bald.
Could Van Asteroid have saved her? Impossible to tell.
I was like, cover that shit up.
He plays chess with Eden.
Yeah.
And she's like, what's your fucking deal? Why'd you kidnap us? And he's like, well, the Sultan is a foreign puppet. I don't like him. He's shit. And so I'm gonna like try and lead a coup to get rid of him. And my plan is that I'm going to kidnap you. I'm going to ask an outrageous price to ransom you and humiliate them. And then they're going to be so embarrassed and everyone's going to see that they're weak and everyone's going to come and join me. That's the vibe.
It's so fucking... Like, it's so funny when they're like, all right, we're going to have our guy explain his genius plan and he'll be playing chess throughout it so that you know he's like a fucking brains god. It's like, yes, all right, we get the fucking thing. And then Eden, like, checkmates his queen, which was an interesting sentence for her to use, and which you're supposed to be like, oh, I see, he is very clever also, but Eden better go. She's got something about her. She
he neglects the queen.
Yeah, interesting. My favorite detail about this is that
you're bluffing
the chess pieces. The chess pieces with the form of which you are most familiar with are like Arabic by way of India chess pieces, right? They're what you would be using. But because that doesn't look foreign, they had to pick some like weird chess pieces to be like, he's playing Muslim chess. Twice as devious.
Not red-blooded American chess.
That's right.
So
he like chess. One of the worst and most misguided musicals ever to hit Broadway.
One very different night in Bangkok.
Oriental City.
So we go back to America. We go to
the pieces fit the Islamist machine.
we go to Yosemite, where Roosevelt is in nature, killing nature as he is wont to do.
Roosevelt again, another scene of Roosevelt just doing shit. Perfect.
Yeah, he just like explains bears to journalists. he has shot a bear, and he's like, "Tell you what, I'm going to talk about this bear for a minute."
They are wrapped. They are fucking hanging on his every word.
Gentlemen, this is the theme of the movie that we're in.
The bear is like the American man, right? And like all men, it is like violent, lonely, impetuous, and doomed also because someone's going to shoot it. And he feels sad about this, but in many ways it's a metaphor and it says a lot about society. This is all obviously insane, but stuff Roosevelt could have said. He was like this.
Yeah, I tell you what though, it's
weird dude.
It's interesting that this film, and I was surprised actually that this film kind of critiqued American politics and the American character. I was like, oh, and from the point of view of a good guy, I was like, oh, you kind of wouldn't see that in a film now. Like even a character, even somebody like Captain America would not say, yeah, sometimes America's a bit shit. I stand for the ideals and I recognize the country isn't always good. It's like, it was kind of novel to me. I was like, oh, this film actually does kind of have some criticisms of the US.
It does. It's just that, given that it's John Milius, they are coming from the right, but yes.
Yes, fair point. Yeah.
So we go, our American diplomats go and see the Sultan. The Sultan is
they bring him some lions?
Child. He's a man-child who has been sort of gifted Western technology, which he uses as a toy. Like there's a full like steam locomotive that he has just in his house because he doesn't know how to like make use of it. He's having his guys play like polo on bicycles, and sort of like clapping delightedly when they crash into each other. At one point, he like fires a Maxim gun at his servants, and it's just flatly like this is a sort of like degenerate culture that is unfit to rule. It's fully like childlike racist.
Yeah, very contrasted against Roosevelt, who's out there digging ditches and shooting bears and shit.
Yeah, exactly. This guy is like has a sort of a golden carriage that's pulled by dudes.
Yeah, whereas later on we see Roosevelt in his kind of black tie in the White House having a party, and he doesn't eat cake because he's like, oh, it's bad for you, make it soft, like it's make it unhealthy. Like he's rugged and powerful.
Again, there's sort of the creeping fascism. So he sort of like sulks when the Americans put their demands to him. He's like, you don't understand what it's like being the Sultan of Morocco, which is very funny. Also, weirdly high use of dudes as chairs and footstools in this movie.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I wondered, was that done? Seems inefficient.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think
Moulay Abdelaziz, so the Sultan at the time, was an extravagant spender, and he did do some pretty dumb things, some of which are accurate, and he was encouraged by his European counselors to spend a lot of money on dumb things. The people's chairs thing, and a lot of the looks seem to me more like kind of British Raj inspired, sort of like low budget, Indian costume drama. But he was a very unpopular man.
There are bits and pieces of, I think a lot of it reaches for sort of the, like, ideas of the Ottoman, particularly when we see Vladek Sheybal sort of, like, tousling his boy's hair and stuff. It's like, yeah, I think this is reaching for the same stuff as Lawrence of Arabia is. But so, the Sultan, like, he refuses to pay them off, refuses to pay off certainly to free Eden. And the American diplomats begin thinking amongst themselves, oh, well, maybe. Also, interesting thing that I want to highlight here, as the American diplomats coming into the Sultan's palace, he talks about how there's no road to the palace at Fez, and how Americans are going to build one someday, because we have men that can do anything. We have men that can fly, right? And this is this curious sort of nostalgia for like a young, resurgent America that's like full of possibility. For a movie made in 1975, that's there's politics happening there. That's you gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get over this Vietnam shit, and be more like Teddy Roosevelt.
This is also the moment where they're like, oh, we can't build any roads to Fez because of all the desert, which not even fucking close.
That's where they
only have camels.
Yes,
they don't really use in that bit of Morocco.
It's like you could have just looked at a map.
Yeah, that would have worked. That would have been work. Men don't look at maps.
They hired a map reading guy, but they fired him after 3 days because Sean Connery didn't want to do it.
So the Americans send in the Marines who are like, "We're the Marines. We're gonna kick ass." Yeah. So they say it's pointless chasing Sean Connery. He'll lead us on a merry dance all over the Moroccan desert, ? So instead, we're just going to go and fucking take over Vladek Sheybal's city, That'll fucking like shift the needle. That'll get some shit done. Consequences be damned. Because we see also that like the French and the British and the Germans are all in this country, and people are like, if you fucking march troops in here, it's going to start an international incident. And they're like, well, we'll start a world war, and then our dicks will be big, and we won't be gay. That's the idea.
Yeah, this movie doesn't know how it feels about the US government. It loves the US military, and it particularly loves the Marines, but it doesn't really know how it feels about like the US doing great power shit. Because on the one hand, it's like, holy shit, these guys are going to start World War III or World War I. On the other hand, gosh, don't the Marines look nice with their sort of like the dark covers, the sort of navy blue hats.
Kind of like The Rock in that regard, and then it's like US government, soy, gay, don't like it. US troops, love it, great.
Sick, keep it up. I'm so impressed that you guys are pulling like a plot out of this, because it really is presented just as a series of baffling vignettes more than anything else.
It's just guys in rooms. It's really poorly made. It has no momentum. Two other details I got from this whole sequence. First of all, we learn that Vladek Sheval is like caught between Germany and Russia, the two European powers that could least plausibly be involved in Morocco.
Okay, pause. Germany was involved in Morocco and nearly did take it over. Russia, on the other hand, they made it up.
What's interesting to me, though,
who do we hate right now? Russia. Put them in.
Russia. I mean, it's the 70s.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to have some Russians.
You gotta put the fucking Russians in there.
That Germany's involved in this, but it's Germany and France. Spain doesn't get a look in. And the reason I suspect that this is that this movie was filmed in Spain, and filmed in Spain at a time when Spain was fascist still. Like, it was filmed the year Franco died. And so I suspect that you are not going to make a movie in 1975 Spain involving Spanish colonialism, particularly failed and like disastrous Spanish colonialism. Because, I mean, Spain was handed quite a lot of L's in the course of like colonizing Morocco.
You can tell in a lot of bits, like the buildings in Tangiers are actually in Seville. And if you've been to Seville, and they don't look that Muslim actually, but like they're quite nice buildings.
Oh, we also get a scene where Roosevelt is like, he's like fucking around with his rifle, his new Winchester rifle that he's been delivered. And he's like, this doesn't fit right because I'm in civilization and I'm discontented by it. I have to interact with this shit. I bet this other guy, this Raisuli guy, he's got a good rifle. And I bet we'd be friends in real life if we ever met.
He's got a parasocial fucking relationship with the Raisuli.
Yeah, genuinely.
Do not form a parasocial relationship with the Raisuli.
But I wonder
some things in here don't react well to parasociality.
I wonder if that's the film's like idea about the American government and imperialism, which is that like it doesn't really know how it feels about imperialism in general. But if it's Americans who are doing it, it's probably going to be like more in touch with the people and more rooted in bravery, like a grizzly bear or something.
Yeah.
Roosevelt keeps sending Sean Connery Tumblr asks about gender and kink. so the Marines
non-Tumblr asking brick to Sean Connery. This is my point where I'm like, I need like chyrons telling me who these fucking people are, because it's clearly supposed to be like historical figures that if you are an American, you're going to have some sort of understanding of. So there's a scene where they...
I'm not sure. These are like genuinely unimportant historical figures. Admiral French Enzo Chadwick is still not a household name. Unjustly, I would say.
It takes about half an hour to pronounce, that's why.
First of all, why would he be called French? Ridiculous first name to have.
Mm-hmm.
French Chadwick.
Hello, I'm French. And what's your name? I'm French. Fuck off then, you idiot.
She French on my Enzo to like Chadwick. I don't know.
But I need like a Death of Stalin situation where these people walk on screen and it tells me who they are and what their deal is pretty quickly, so that I can follow the fucking movie.
So Eden escapes by bribing a cackling buffoon, this like Ferengi-looking motherfucker.
We needed the role of guy who laughs in a sinister ethnic manner. And let me tell you, the guy they got to play that, he's playing it.
He nails it.
He's got one line, and the rest of the time is just sort of like sinister, creepy laughter.
Yeah. And he takes them to a rival warlord, and Eden thinks she's bought her safety, but then it's apparent she hasn't.
I'm curious about this. So they get menaced again in a sort of like when you get menaced in this movie, what it is a bunch of dudes sort of like half crouch over and try to like touch you. These dudes are wearing a lot of like sort of like long head wraps that are all in indigo, and I did wonder, are these dudes supposed to be Bedouin, or is this just like?
I think they're supposed to be Tuareg, which is a couple of thousand kilometers to the south, but who's counting, really?
Honestly, at this point.
Yeah, the blue headdress would be associated
making
with
fun of like
Sahara.
this movie for being racist and inadvertently repeating its errors.
Yeah, so this Eden pulls out her like major big play, her chess move plan, which is she's going to disguise her two children as Jawas and go and check the blue guys who like the big rock and see if they can help her out.
Yeah.
But
and this
can't.
does not work.
I think it's good to dress your children as Star Wars. Star Wars is a great franchise, and it's good.
We love
good for
it.
good
I'm
for
gonna watch
families.
every Disney Plus Star Wars series that comes out. Audience, go right for it.
At this point, the movie has like visibly lost interest.
Yeah, no,
like, it's filmed quite perfunctorily at this point.
What, are you fucking kidding me? No, this horseback combat sequence is fucking sick.
This is the bit where I started to write down animals were harmed in the making of this fucking show.
Oh, yes, they were.
Oh my God, were they harmed?
Yeah. Animals.
Also wrote down
as Eden
acting
realizes that these guys are a bit like, this is when guys start getting domed off from the hillside by Sean Connery with a rifle.
Mm-hmm. And then he comes and he does some fucking amazing like horseback combat sword fighting shit. It's genuinely very well filmed.
Yeah, the horse acting is better than the people acting in this movie. Although, to be fair, that's because there weren't laws about animal cruelty, so you could trip them over with a rope if you wanted them to fall over. And you can't do that to actors. And it would have been a better
now that
film.
Spain is like woke and not fascist anymore, you can't just horribly kill a horse. A guy gets decapitated.
So having rescued Eden, Sean Connery brings her to his house, his mountain fortress, and she says, "What are you going to do?
Check out my cool garden."
Yeah, she says, "What are you going to do if they don't pay the ransom?" And he's like, "Well, obviously I'm going to let you go. I'm not just going. I'm the Raizuli. I don't kill women and children. That's not how we do things in Scotland."
Could have saved a lot of trouble by like giving her this little speech about an hour ago.
Yeah, man.
But
no need to terrorize the poor woman.
Sometimes you have to just like maintain an air of mystery and drama, and I respect that.
It's called kayfabe, all right? Listen, it's got to keep it up.
Right.
And then the Americans arrive. The Marines rock up. This is a good sequence if you enjoy marching and drill.
This is where I wrote down American voice. Look at how our dainty fucking soldiers run. Check that shit out, boys.
Yeah, this is clearly like a scene like done and like choreographed and filmed by people with an eye for drill, in that it's militarily it's very precise. I believe the Marines actually used it as part of like training films at some point. However, the fact is, in real life, military drill looks dumb as hell. And so you show this movie to a normal person, and so like me and Abby are over here going, "Damn, that looks crisp as fuck."
Yeah, and meanwhile, Devon is fucking sitting here going like, "Why are they taking half steps through the streets of Tangier? Why aren't they just?"
What is this they them army femboy Marines bullshit?
The fucking tippy taps the entire way.
Although
because
I love
back
that,
in the day,
the French and the Germans who are at their balconies watching them are like hornily being like, "Oh my god, the Americans, they look so great." Yes,
I love this.
Thank you for fucking mentioning the Germans at their balcony, because I genuinely creased over double laughing at the Germans. There's one shot of two German guys leaning out of the balcony, and one of them looks like fucking Dr. Eggman, and the other looks like the corpse of Prince Charles. Like
one of them is like
Prince
Lurch from the Addams Family.
Like, it's unbelievable.
Monocle and everything.
Yeah.
And
this will be the episode art, by the way. So if you just look at that.
Like Statler and Waldorf brackets German.
Genuinely, he's holding a monocle up to his eye and be like, "By God."
Meanwhile, at the French consulate, it's a woman going, Qu'est-ce que c'est? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? How did they get so sexy? And it's
Emily in Paris is leaning out of the fucking balcony being like, les Americains!
Mon Dieu, look at that dainty
fair
little
description
run.
of French colonialism, I'm sure. Also, the reason why this is happening
this
is
film has a problem with national stereotypes.
maybe. Back in the day, when you marched your troops to something, you marched your troops to something in formation, and so this Marine captain.
The thing is, like, the world population at this time was like 1 million people. So like, everyone knows each other. You're going to embarrass yourself in front of the other countries if you march in your troops in front of like the 3 people from France and they see you. Like,
this is the biggest army the world had ever seen at this point. Was these?
This is the most people
Marines
that have ever been in one place. Like.
One small detail that's just for us and you, if you have access to this movie, the guy at 1 hour 15 minutes 35 seconds spits Milo Edwards. Genuinely.
Fuck's sake! Now I'm gonna have to go.
Didn't see that. I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
But
these guys, I love the
the
tactics here. They line up in front of the Bashar's palace, and then they just all in unison just like point their guns at the guards and shoot them. There's no like running for cover. They just
start the
genuinely
killing.
I think like, and this is good as hell because they like traipse into here again. They're doing their very impressive dainty little footfalls, and then they all stand out and the guy goes, all right, aim, and meanwhile all of the palace guards are going, what the fuck? They're doing like the Monty Python guards when the guys running, they're like, all right, let's see what's going on here.
Every palace guard is like 2 steps away from taking off their like work hat and going, listen, man, I don't need this job anymore.
And then they open fire, and this is the point at which I think everyone in the palace realized that this was actually happening. Like, I genuinely thought this was just like a little show of strength they were doing, like a little military parade, and then they just genuinely open fire.
Well, everyone, apart from the Pasha / Vladek Shaibel, who just sits there looking like the caterpillar in Alice in Wonderland, like smoking the hookah and being like,
he's great. All of his guys get killed, and the only thing he does is he's eating like I think it's like a what is it? Like a tamarind or something. And he like moves the hand of the dead guy off of his like chaise longue. And it's just like, oh well, it seems you've captured me, haven't you?
Genuine, it's so fucking funny because he's earnestly on like a silver platter for these guys to come and capture, but he's just like lounging on this fucking chaise longue. He's like, you people are insane. Your president is insane. And the guy goes, yes, he is. And then it cuts to the American national anthem, loud as fuck. And you're like, all right, okay.
Yeah, there is a little touch here which I thought this was briefly like brushed by a greater artistry, which is the moment where they have the Navy band playing the Star Spangled Banner like on top of the corpses of the guys they've just killed because no one's moved them away yet. That borders on the Celine to me. I like that as a sort of like, and again, Celine is also a fascist, right? So it fits. But this is like sort of like acutely observed, like sort of surrealism of war and violence. We now cut back to Roosevelt.
Yeah, this is definitely around the point where I started scanning the Wikipedia article to find out if this was satirical. Like, I was like, what are they making fun of this? Like, what are they doing
it's like
here?
Almost Verhoeven at points, isn't it?
Like, it's like genuinely like a really solid satirical movie, except they made it completely straight, which, fantastic. The best kind of satire, as far as I'm aware.
Roosevelt is at a firing range shooting guns, which he loves to do. And hey, the Secretary of State tries to convince him that this is madness and it's going to start World War III.
Is the Secretary of State the same guy who said he played M in the 1967 Casino Royale and said all he does all day, every day is play Debussy?
No.
It's the same actor.
Yes.
Is he?
Oh,
John
yeah. He says, oh, just plays Debussy every day.
Now the time of day I reserve for Debussy.
I knew I'd fucking seen that guy before.
We've seen him twice.
Also in Winter Kills.
Yeah, he's in Winter Kills. He plays the dad in Winter Kills.
He was the M who mortared his own position. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he says,
Gone cowboy again.
and as we have seen in an earlier scene that we didn't, we kind of skipped over, people love it. He gives this speech, Perdicaris alive, Rasuli dead, and people lap it up because Americans love a cowboy.
And Roosevelt Willen has been blinded in his left eye by a punch because he likes to box, which I thought was a nice little touch.
He just hasn't mentioned this to anyone.
Yeah.
And he tells you how to understand the movie, right? He just says this flat out. He's like, there's great men in the world, men of violence. To be one of these is rare and difficult. And to be one is inherently lonely. And the only comfort that they have is each other and recognizing each other at great distances. Here in the US, it's me and it's JP Morgan because finance has supplanted the sort of traditional forms of violence. But this Rasuli guy, him and me, we would get along, I think, and we would be besties.
It's we need some kind of masculinist international elite group or ideology that binds us together.
Because I think of the closing of the frontier, it's there's the end of the West, which Roosevelt was this big kind of image of. And so it's oh my God, we're going to become decadent like everybody else. So we need to find this still savage place where there is this guy who still has these noble values like a cowboy.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of the
Roosevelt should have been played by a stacked 10 out of 10 baddie.
I've been saying this.
Yeah. But so Roosevelt's plan is, as you say, sort of a dudes rock international, where all of these, all of the toughest, manliest men in the world can get together and kill wildlife.
I think we're dudes rock international, the enemies of the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, and their leader Mick Lynch.
Yeah. Dudes Rock International. Calling Dudes Rock International.
So Uncle is Dudes Rock International too. So back at Rasuli's house.
Oh my God, I fucking love this bit. Rasuli is telling everyone a story about shit, and they're tell us a story, and he's well, I was imprisoned in a prison by my wicked brother, but the guards let me out because they saw that I was so cool.
Yeah, and also
everyone is hanging on his every word.
Then I was taken in by brigands, and they made me their chief because they saw that I was so cool.
Also expects you to believe that Sean Connery and Vladek Sheybal are brothers, which is a stretch of casting, I'll say. And we sort of get this shitty extended sequence of romance where we see Eden sort of admires Rasuli, and Rasuli is sort of taken aback by her sort of perseverance and stubbornness. And essentially what happens is feminism happens to him. And he gets what I legitimately think is a really good line. He puts his head in his hands after she humiliates him in front of his dudes and goes,
It's been a bad year. Next one will probably be worse.
Which I like.
I'm always saying this.
Yeah. And
no, it's going to be on a year, actually.
His guy, whose name I don't remember, I'm not sure if the movie even gives him one, but his deputy Klingon shows up. And it's okay, the Americans have successfully pushed Vladek Sheybal into this offer, which is, we're going to give you everything you want, gold, rifles, I don't even remember the rest of it.
Wait, is this the Sharif of Wazan?
Yeah,
it is.
The guy who later... Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fucking Nadim Sawala, who legendary.
Who, incidentally, A, is Jordanian, and you can tell when he speaks Arabic because he sounds more like a TV announcer than a Moroccan person. But also, he is the father of Julia Sawalha, who plays Safi, the daughter, in Absolutely Fabulous.
There you fucking go.
He's also in The Avengers 1998, which we would love to do at some point.
Do you remember when we were going to do that with H-bombs?
Oh, I fucking remember. I've seen that motherfucker's on other podcasts now.
He's what? I'm going to fucking text him.
I'm going to slice him in half.
I'm going to fucking text him right. I'm going to fucking text him right now.
This organization does
cut
not
him in half
tolerate
like a fucking hamburger bun.
He was just texting me today. I'm going to fucking text him now. Hey,
do you want to come his life on her?
So Rasuli is presented with this, yes, we accept your demands. Bring Eden and the kids to not suspicious handover point. Come alone. Do not bring weapons. And everyone around him goes, "This is clearly a trap. You don't have to do this." To which he insists, "Yes, I do, because I have been fated to do this." Because
it's the end of the movie.
The movie's got to end in a minute.
Yeah.
we got to have a denouement, man. Yeah. We have to do this.
So they ride into Wild West town, and Connery is arrested. The Marines take Pedicurus into custody. Connery is taken by the Germans.
The Germans show up,
and they pay his ally a bunch of money, and then his ally takes the money back to the lads and is like, "Yeah, we're going to leave the money on the ground, and we're going to go in there and we're going to rescue Sean Connery at dawn." William, the little boy, has a dream about Sean Connery.
Yeah, William is
Let's
ride
talk
or
about
die.
fucking William for a second here.
Let's please talk about William.
Like, Eden, William, and daughter, who cares? Not a character. They've all been kidnapped, and Eden generally says to William, just like, "William, do you have your dagger?" And I wrote, "William, it's time to go sicko mode. It's time to fucking take all of these Marines hostage."
Time to go Black Ops mode. Yeah.
She genuinely does. Although, to be fair, the movie very much displays it like everyone is humouring her.
Yeah, but she
is holding it. "I have shot grouse in Scotland and quail in North Carolina. Believe me, I know how to use this thing."
It's very girl boss. It's like, I own 51%.
I'm always
of this
saying
company.
this.
I've shot dogs full of
I'm very rich. And I know how to hunt.
The shoulder pads grow up off of her. She says it. But like, what happens is that the captain of these Marines, because again, this movie loves the Marines. It's like, "Oh shucks, man, we're all Americans here. Let's go do the right
He's just like,
thing."
"I'm a good guy now, even though I was militaristic and murdered a bunch of people a couple scenes ago."
So we do this sort of high noon thing, and all of the gunplay in this movie is like sort of discount Sam Peckinpah, like lots of dudes getting shot and falling out of windows off balconies, shit like that.
Oh, it's fucking sick! It's cool. A guy gets shot out of a window and he falls through a balcony. It's good.
You need to see better movies.
My note at this point says, "Movies were much better when you were just allowed to give horses PTSD." Because fuck me, these horses having the worst time I've
some
ever
of these
seen.
horses definitely get blown up.
While the Marines are setting up it's America and the Arab world against colonialism in 1975.
Nothing will happen from here on out. Don't worry.
Yeah. The tribesmen are charging into the guns, the French 75 field guns that the Germans have brought with them, and we get a lot of. I think this is actually well shot. It's sort of like, if you've seen The Last Samurai, they crib a lot from that with machine guns. Lots of shots of like shells being injected.
We're gonna have to watch that too, aren't we? We're gonna have to get you back on for that one, Arthur. It might not be your area of expertise, but we'll do it anyway.
We have to watch good movies.
No,
as a famous expert of Japan.
Yeah, exactly.
They blow up so many horses.
These horses are fucking atomized. Yeah. There are horses going up like Castle Bravo throughout this entire scene.
The price of glue fell after this movie.
Looking at these motherfuckers like, wow, you could do anything in 1975. You could kill any horse in 1975.
Yeah, horses had no right.
And all the survivors, Sean Connery took them out with a shoe. Right at the very end, just beat him to death.
Boom. So anyway, Eden runs in. Sean Connery's been tied upside down, and
shirtless.
Yeah. Like
yes.
Jamie Foxx in fucking Django Unchained, but without the balls. Cuts him down, and then he grabs a sword, and then is like, "See you later."
Yeah. No, he has to fight. He has to fight a mini boss on the way out, which is
this guy who he wasn't really set up as a villain. We don't really know what he's all about. But
Antoine St. John who's just playing German.
He's shouting German. That's enough.
Yeah. Like this, it's one of the sort of like film noir things where you cast a guy by like having a very interesting skull shape. Right, where like a guy has like unsettling cheekbones, and you just go, right, you are going to be in every movie from now on.
I mean, fingers crossed. Henchmen. That's my whole career.
Shut up. This and now we get a masterclass in subverting expectations. Right, we all love movies. We love it when they subvert our expectations. So let me set up what happens here. German man, Sean Connery, oppositional. William has a fucking shotgun, and he just like happens across this scene, and he looks at it, and you're like, I know what's going to happen here. William is going to use this shotgun to save Sean Connery from German man.
I'm a man.
This doesn't happen. Instead, what happens is Sean Connery and German man fight for about 3 uninterrupted minutes while it keeps cutting back to show us that William is just watching the entire time. Just his face, no expression, staring straight ahead at
holding
this
a gun.
It's just
Sean Connery's like, "Do you want to help? You got to get involved in this
shit.
I'm nearly being killed here. Would you like to feel free to jump in at any fucking point, Bill?"
And then my second note is, William, this is clearly the arc of your character. You have to help me here. And he doesn't. Not a fucking thing.
No.
Chekhov's
gun, leave that shit on the mantelpiece.
Straight up doesn't.
Chekhov's gun safety. Yeah.
William does not complete his character arc in this Wild West gunfight. And William, you have my sympathies.
Sean Connery does the thing where he knocks this German officer down and he gives him like a fencing scar on the face.
He carves a Z on his face.
Yeah.
Listen,
because he respects him.
Listen to me. Sometimes you see something occurring and you're like, oh, this is the apotheosis of my character arc. And you just go, I'm all right.
It's probably fine then. Yeah,
I'll leave it.
But it's because he's grown, isn't it? Like, isn't the idea that like he used to kill people and he was bad, but then because like Eden Pradikaras changed him and feminism,
that's true.
Now he doesn't just kill people; he's nice.
But
he just gives him a scar. I'm talking about William on this one.
Sorry,
but
I'm talking about
to be fair,
William.
You are correct that is the
he's
point
he's woke now. He's reformed. He's
soy.
He's honestly he's moving into making YouTube videos just about like makeup and content mainly now. It's less about the kind of politics.
He grabs the shotgun, rides off into the sunset. At which point we go back to the US.
At which point my note is
Teddy Roosevelt.
William followed that man into the desert. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
William immediately took off.
But this is another subverted expectation because you sort of think that like they might kiss, something might happen, and then no, she just looks there kind of red-eyed, and boom, we cut to Roosevelt, and it's a bit like one of those like consent memes, you know, where it's like, oh, well, Pradikaras and like Raisuli might want to have sex, but did you check that Roosevelt consented to this? Because we need to check what he thinks.
Is there someone you forgot to ask? And it's
bully.
Teddy Roosevelt.
You forgot to ask.
What's really and like, I guess the idea is that like theirs is a love that can never be, right? Like at one point she literally says like, you're not one of my wives, which but so we go to Teddy Roosevelt, who is being briefed on the situation, and he sort of Rooseveltly goes, just give everybody medals. I gotta get this fucking gun fixed. It's driving me crazy. And then we see that he has had this bear that he shot reluctantly taxidermied, and he delivers my favorite line of the movie fully.
Now, gentlemen, if you don't mind, I'd just like to be alone with my bear.
It's so good that
something I often find myself saying.
God.
Marge, I'd like to be alone with the sandwich.
It's so good that the entire movie plays out, and then, like, after it concludes, we cut back to Roosevelt, who just goes, all in a day's work, boys. And it's like, you didn't do anything! We've kept cutting back to you. You've not done anything. It's like they got the fucking reels mixed up. Like, there's just Roosevelt scenes in this movie, and I don't know why.
I want people to know that like 25% of the film is Roosevelt talking about bears. Like it takes up so much of the screen time.
They're trying to
it's
set
insane.
up this thing. It was like, and even Connery writes him a letter being like, I am a lion and you are the wind. And
we are talking about the wind.
He gets him,
he writes him a masculine coin.
He gives him like a Tumblr ask that's like, I've been having some thoughts about my gender. And it's like,
President Roosevelt.
No, it was the other way around. Roosevelt was writing to Connery about on Tumblr, and Connery like gives him a standard like, "Thanks very much for watching the show," and like fuck off. And then we see Connery talking to his like best friend, and his best friend's like, "Oh, we've lost everything," and Connery's like, "It was worth it for that quirked up white girl, Poochie."
and that's the movie.
Which you
that's
didn't
the
even get.
conclusion of the movie.
Which you didn't even get. And you can then do a sort of like Raisuli died on the way back to his home planet sort of thing. In that, right, the actual guy was like killed a couple of months later.
Really?
By he was like imprisoned and killed by Abdul Karim, the guy who like
he was eaten by
was
a
a
lion.
more successful version of him, and who like declared the Rif Republic, which insanely cool flag by the way, but which was then crushed by the Spanish using sort of like airplanes and like chemical weapons and all of this, and history just rolls on over it. But this has been a sort of a historical footnote that has been blasted out to a 2-hour movie of what if dudes who rocked but were separated by history could be friends and bros?
What, like
What if Sean Connery was Teddy Roosevelt's bear?
Like,
yeah, what if that?
Like,
what if that?
If you're gonna make a movie that's this far from reality in terms of what actually happened, why not just have them meet up and be buds? Like, why would you still just be like star-crossed lovers?
Initiative.
This film
Why
is
not make
quite...
it good?
is-
Why not make it a good film?
Why not
Yeah.
make a
Why
good
not-
Why
Why
not
just
make
tangible
something
movie?
that's actually fun to watch?
Yeah.
I would simply make a good film. What did we learn from The Wind and the Lion, other than the fact that the next prayer that I do, I will be struggling with all of my might not to speak Arabic in Sean Connery voice.
Don't worry, Alice. Allah is very understanding.
Inshallah.
The film is quite fascist, right? I think we can all agree that it's like, like men need to be sort of rugged and like military good, but government bad, and like you just gotta do the violence, and it's like
But so do women, curiously.
Yes.
Like her
Woman.
Eden's sort of like virtue is if anything enhanced by the fact that she is willing to like do some epic shit.
I have a theory about this film.
Please.
I think that this film teaches us one thing, which is that American conservatives in 1975 were absolutely ready to support the Mujahideen in Afghanistan a few years later when the Soviets invaded Afghanistan. Because the whole thing of this film is, if you find the right Muslims who are rugged, empire is actually okay if Americans do it. So I think this is the deep meaning of this film, is that they were ready to support the people who would later become the Taliban much later.
It really does plug straight into the Mujahideen in The Living Daylights, which also features a lot of like beturbaned cavalry, sort of like riding against
led by
like
a guy with a
neocolonialism.
British accent. My God.
Led by a guy with a British accent, and with the help of a British secret agent, so with the help of a white dude. Yeah, no, I genuinely, I think that has like cracked this case wide open. This, I didn't enjoy watching it. I'm glad it's over, but I've had a great time recording this episode.
I did enjoy the action sequences. Like, it was kind of quite exciting.
You to watch The Wild Bunch. We got to get you to watch Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. We got to get you to watch better westerns than this.
Gotta get you to watch
I'm pretty sure
again.
I'm in better westerns than this. But is this a bonus or is it a regular?
Bonus.
This is a bonus. I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
we're not
racing
gonna scum
shit
it. Yeah,
for this.
okay.
Yeah, that's right. So Arthur, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
If
thank
people
you.
want more Arthur, where can they find you?
Thank you so much for having me. You can find me mostly on Twitter at Arthur Asseraf.
Perfect. Thanks so
That will
much.
be in the
In
description.
which case, we will see you next time. I forgot how I end the show.
Thank you for
how do I
listening
end
to the
show?
first episode of 2023.
Yeah, thank you.
Fuck off.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
All right. Fuck off. That's how we'll
let's
end
do
the
that then.
episode. Thank you for listening to yet another episode of Kill James Bond. Next week on the free feed, it's... Oh god, it's an uncle. It's the Karate Killers, I think. It might be the Helicopter Spies. I think it's the Karate Killers, though, which, with God as my witness, or indeed with Allah as my witness, that better have some fucking Karate Killers in it, or I'm going to go spare. The next bonus episode is still yet to be decided. Now, as this is the winter of content, you do not need to give us any money at all to get the full gamut of episodes released. However, some still choose to, and I would be remiss if I did not read out our £15 and above patrons, and those are Candy Fox, Amanda Comet, Freya Aloysius, Gustavo Lira, Jack Holmes, Mike Berg, Thomas Oberhart, Nick Boris, Kentucky Fried Commie, Yarrick, Natomori, Cohen Enright, Harriet de Kock, Labour Delenda Est, Commissar Ozymandias, They of Thems. I read it out in full and I said I wouldn't. Library Hitman, Beef Crime, Jack Drummond, Jonathan Gerdes, Callan Burney, Max Gaimanhart, Jay Martindale, Kit Devine, Hell, Lysamage, Jonathan Siegel, Harrison Fuller, Big Titty Goth Girl, Mothman, Tarp O, George Rohack, Trip, Clara Has Burned the Closet, Alex, Violet Cybra, Ash, and Liz in Florida, a trans robot, Men's Room Louie, Cass Frass, Bronan, The Spy Who Ruined My Marriage, Annie Ruby, Isopod Gal, Elizabeth Cox. My jokes end up on the wrong episode. Listen, it's a tough life. Zoe Shepherd, Turfs Eat Shit and Die Alone, Quinn Valeri, Finn Ross, Alfredo, Wolfrey, Big Ol' Boy, Al Irving, Robert Greensmith, Millie, Josh Simmons, Lauren Bastin, Roll History Pod, Artemis Potter, and Elizabeth Hall. Thank you for being patrons of the show. Kill James Bond is, of course, Alice, Abigail, and Devon. Our producer is the wonderful Nate Bethay. Our podcast art is by Matty Lipchansky, and our website is by Tom Allen. See ya.